Hello and welcome. You're watching To The Point. 36 days after it began, the voting is over and we've entered a period of tense calm before the results. So tonight we look back on the campaign that's just ended. Was it the dirtiest ever, as many people think? Has it divided and polarized the country? What does the high turnout suggest? Have Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal left behind a strong imprint? And has the Election Commission suddenly become controversial? Those are some of the issues we shall tackle tonight. And now joining me is Congress spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala, Aam Aadmi Party supporter KP Singh, BJP spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi, the chairman of the Hindu group NRAM, one of India's foremost sociologists Shiv Vishwanathan, and the well-known columnist Siddharth Bhatia. Shiv Vishwanathan, the turnout is a record 66.38%. Not only has it beaten the previous record of 1984, but it is in fact an all-time high, and it's beaten 84 by over 2%. How do you read this massive turnout?
I think the word high is crucial, because it's not just a question of turnout, it's the enthusiasm with which voters have come in. I think partly it's a result of a new generation. Partly it's the fact that people see voting as something interesting. Because look at just the selfie. The fingerless selfie has become one of the icons of modern India. And I think in a deep and fundamental way, what we're seeing is voter initiative, voter inventiveness.
I heard earlier today an explanation which said that in fact one of the reasons why the turnout is so enormous is A, because it's become trendy to vote amongst communities, particularly urban communities which previously were not high voters, and secondly because the Election Commission has actually put up many more polling booths than before, as a result of which you don't have to trek long distances. The polling booth is often quite close to where you live. Has that had a material impact on this turnout?
Yeah.
Or is this turnout a reflection, as the BJP hopes, of a sizable wave in its direction?
Let's get Election Commission its good points for civics. But the word trendy is suspect, because I think there's a deep kind of enthusiasm here. We're not just following trends. I think there's a deep sense of a new possibility of politics. It's got nothing to do with the BJP.
Is that new possibility creating a wave? And if it is it creating a wave in any one direction?
I'm not sure of that. I think in this case, what we are seeing is a commitment to politics. I think the waves that other parties are talking about are secondary.
Mr. Trivedi, let me very quickly come to you, because you're not with us for very long, sadly. Do you believe that this incredible turnout is in fact a wave in your direction? Or is that an over-interpretation?
I do not undermine the efforts of Election Commission and whatever they have done, and even the publicity by Election Commission. But coming on the political point, in my opinion, there are three reasons for this. Number one, the awareness has increased among voters. Number two, the first time voter, which is the youth, in this election they have become more vibrant and active, contrary to the previous perception that youth are feeling that they have nothing to do with politics. And third, in my opinion, this is a distinct wave in favor of change. As you yourself have said, that it is beating the record of 1984. What happened in 1984? This was a decisive, major wave in favor of Congress and Mr. Rajiv Gandhi at the time. So if you compare that thing with today's situation, in my opinion, this is a decisive wave supported by youth and the awareness. Let
me stop you there, because I can see Randeep Singh Surjewala is nodding his head in clear disagreement. I'm not talking about polls, Randeep Singh Surjewala. Polls are not part of our analysis.
In the recently completed state assembly election, it was 74%, 70%, and the result was clear in front of us.
All right. Randeep Singh Surjewala, I'm not talking about polls. I'm talking about the turnout. It's a record turnout. It's even beaten the turnout of 84 when Rajiv Gandhi swept in with 412. That was a classic wave in support of Congress. This time round, does a higher turnout suggest a wave that's throwing you out? I won't say it's bringing Mr. Modi in, but is it a wave that's throwing you out? Is it sweeping you from office?
Mr. Thapar, let me put it like this. A, it reflects a certain maturity and faith in democracy. B, it also reflects a deep yearning desire to engage with the democratic process and be a part of it. To be a part of government formation, to be a part of way India is governed, to be a part of policy determination and to be a part of overall the manner, fashion and methodology by which this country would be governed and propelled forward. Of course, my friend from BJP and other parties can continue to say it's a wave in favor of X or Y, but we have seen now classically and traditionally an increased turnout in voters has not necessarily reflected in a wave against the incumbent government, but that is will be seen all
You're absolutely right. Can I stop you? You're absolutely right. In Madhya Pradesh, the wave helped the incumbent government, but the incumbent government was BJP. That's the problem with your analogy. In Madhya Pradesh, the wave in December helped the incumbents, but the incumbents were BJP. In Rajasthan, the wave went against the incumbent, and the incumbent was you. So I come back. This time round, in May 2014, is the wave sweeping Dr. Manmohan Singh and Mrs. Gandhi out of office?
Well, I would hope not, because this election has been fought on many fronts, one of which was positive and constructive as per Congress party.
Okay.
Another one was divisive, polarizing, and stooping down to the level of caste divisions on part of BJP and Shri Narendra Modi. But it's only finally the wisdom of the voter that will tell on 16th which way the wind blows.
Well, that you're absolutely right about. What do you believe, N. Ram from Chennai, is the wisdom of the voter? From that southern perspective that you have, do you believe the wave we are seeing is a problem for Congress, or do you believe, in fact, this might be, bizarrely, as Randeep Singh Surjewala hopes, in fact, an endorsement of the UPA?
Karan, the high turnout, which is significantly higher than the mean, is there's no simple explanation for it, but insofar as it's significant, it is a wave not in favor of the BJP or Narendra Modi, but a wave against the Congress and the UPA. That much, I think, is certain on the ground from everything that we know. But I wouldn't call it a wave nationally speaking, because a wave would mean a minimum of 300 seats, in my opinion, in my reckoning, for a single party, and that's a real wave, even in the present context.
Okay.
And nobody is saying that the BJP or even the NDA for that matter, or even with its allies, other allies, is going to touch that kind of figure. Nobody says that seriously. So there is no national wave, but there's an anti-UPA, anti-Congress wave, and in some parts of the country there's a real surge for Narendra Modi and the BJP.
Now
So it's a very mixed picture in some...
Now, the other thing about this election, Siddharth Bhatia, is that many people believe that it's also perhaps the dirtiest campaign that's been fought in recent living memory. Do you believe that to be the case, or do you think it's simply that we're so engrossed in the tutu meme that we've seen that we've perhaps lost a sense of perspective? So is it the dirtiest ever, or are we getting carried away by the immediacy of the campaign?
Well, it's the dirtiest ever if you see the amplification of much of what has been said in public and otherwise. For example, in television studios, on social media. So when you have a situation like a statement being made somewhere in a public meeting, which otherwise would have gone unnoticed till it appeared the next day in the papers, and perhaps then, even then, it may not have exercised comment. Today it is discussed in real time on the social media. By night, every television channel has had tutu memes, and so the amplification is much more. And many of these controversies, I think, have been pretty, kind of pointless and bizarre, and in fact, much ado about nothing.
Okay.
But having said that, I think some of the things that some of the politicians said, I don't want to now start listing, have been clearly aimed at polarizing, clearly aimed at really hitting at the other side in very, very stark and sometimes borderline obscene terms. So I think, yes, people have got a bit excited. There are many reasons for this. So you've got to divide that in two. There is a lot of unparliamentary commentary going on.
Okay.
But often those kind of innocuous comments also get blown up to amount,
Let me stop you there. Sudhanshu Trivedi, what is not being said, but I'm going to say it bluntly, is that in fact, if this is one of the dirtiest campaigns, if not the dirtiest campaign ever, one of the reasons is the rhetoric that we've heard from your prime ministerial candidate. He is the one who coined the Shehzade phrase to pillory Rahul Gandhi. He then began to refer to the government as Ma Beti Ki Sarkar. He is the one who brought in Bangladeshi legal immigrants and hyped up the communal undertones of his rhetoric. And then finally, he began picking a quarrel with the Election Commission, who he accused of partisanship and bias. Is Mr. Modi responsible for making this the dirtiest ever campaign?
No, Karan, everybody can have debate on who has started and which type of words has been used by one. I am leaving this question open to everybody. My basic question is, who required to polarize the campaign and who required to make it personal? In the recently concluded state assembly election, there was no communal issue, no personal issue. The entire issue was corruption and misgovernance, and the country has witnessed where we were standing and where Congress was standing. So, keeping a lesson from that, it was incumbent, or you can say, it was compulsive on their part to make it personal allegation. As you have said,
but just a moment. Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you? Yes, you're coming to Shehzade. Shehzade and Ma Beti Ki Sarkar were personal attacks, weren't they?
And a Congress MP is saying, Boti Boti Kaat Denge is not a provocative statement. If he is saying Bangladeshi infiltration, which is exactly as per the intention of Supreme Court while giving their judgment on IMDT Act, it is considered communal. On the other hand, is Mamta Banerjee saying nobody can touch any Bangladeshi infiltrator.
Can I stop you there? I want to bring in Randeep Singh Surjewala. I, for a moment, was accusing Mr. Modi of making this the dirtiest ever campaign, but the truth is that the rhetoric you heard from Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi gave back as good as it got, if not in enhanced terms. After all, Rahul Gandhi at one point of time compared Mr. Modi to Hitler. Then there was Zahar ki kheti. Then there was Khoon ki kheti. Now, these were terms that were again deliberately designed to personalize the campaign and to denigrate Mr. Modi. So, are you as guilty as Mr. Modi of making this a dirty campaign?
Mr. Thapar, what happened in the entire campaign is for everybody to see and judge. It is Mr. Narendra Modi who began with his jeers.
But you gave back as good as you got. That's the point I'm making. You didn't hold anything in reserve.
Of denigrating everybody.
But you gave back as good as you got.
And I'm not even saying that jeer, jibes or denigration was one part. I'm going a step further, if you can kindly listen. And that was that there was a systematic design to polarize the entire process, first on regionalistic, then on communal, then on linguistic, and finally on caste lines.
Okay.
While I understand that on pockets which are scattered, Mr. Modi may have gained something, but in that entire process of election, it is India which lost.
Well, when you
polarize an election,
let me stop you there. I've got Shiv Viswanathan in studio, who is a sociologist who wants to come in on that point. Would you accept the 2 points being made, that this has become a very polarizing, divisive campaign, and that actually it's divided our country? And as the Hindustan Times says today, the campaign has left India polarized and divided like never before. Would you go as far as that?
No, I wouldn't go as far as that. It's been a divisive election. But what I want to point out is, language is one kind of casualty. The thing nobody is talking about is violence and booth capturing. There are various kinds of dirt. The silence about other forms of dirt in this discussion is too pious.
Well, we come to the other forms of dirt in a moment's time. But do you accept that even if it's not the most divisive, the campaign has ended up leaving India more divided in May than it was, say, in March before it began?
Yeah. I mean, let's be clear. I think it's very clear that between Congress and BJP, they have created a polarized world without any real possibilities except up.
Are you in fact losing out in this polarized world? I know Shiv Viswanathan says you are the only real possibility. But in a polarized world, when people get pushed to the two extremes, and the country, it seems, is being pushed either into Mr. Modi's camp or into Rahul Gandhi's, is up. And your special unique appeal of being different, losing out in this polarized atmosphere?
Well, when you have an entire campaign based on an individual and his persona, obviously he's going to make it about something else that's personal. So that's the divisive issues at the heart of this campaign, which he's been at for 3 weeks. And Aam Aadmi Party, where there's a choice, like say Punjab or Haryana or Delhi or certain parts of other states, where there's a choice between the three parties, voters
Well, actually, this is interesting. You should mention Delhi, because there was a classic choice between the three in December, and you came in with 28 seats, and Congress got squeezed to just 7. Now, the suggestion is that in fact, BJP is going to run away with the spoils, and what you had in December, you've lost to them. So instead of gaining, this polarization is squeezing you out, and that's the point I'm making.
First of all, it's according to the poll, it's still 31% share of the voters, so that's 1/3. So
the point is actually seats.
Seats are fine. Seats come and go, but 33% of Delhi is still voting.
Well, just a moment. You're actually fighting elections not for vote share, but to get seats.
No doubt about that.
You're not telling me that vote share is the important
No doubt
point.
about that. But when it comes, it's a general election. They're choosing the prime minister. So
all right, let me put it like this. I may concede that in vote share terms you're not as squeezed as I'm suggesting you are, but will you accept my point that in seat terms, which I allege is what counts, you're badly squeezed, and you're squeezed because of the polarization?
May not be the polarization. Delhi has other issues, but according to exit poll, it will be so.
All right,
yeah.
so it may not be for the polarization, but you're good-naturedly accepting squeezed you are.
Yeah. But till May 16th, I'm accepting it.
Till May 16th, you're accepting it. All right, and you're hoping there'll be a miracle on May 16th. You have every right for that. And Ram, let me come back once again to that point about the nature of the campaign which we've had. Some call it the dirtiest, others say, as the Hindustan Times I quoted, that in fact India is a very divided and polarized country. Has the campaign been beneficial for India and India's democracy, or has it actually been erosive and corrosive?
What bothers me about the campaign, its content and style, Karan, is the communal, the communal undertones, the insinuations under a veneer of developmentalism. You had some very divisive, polarizing statements and actions, and also the mobilization, I think. And for this, the BJP and its prime ministerial candidate, in my opinion, are primarily responsible. That's what you started out with, at least to play the devil's advocate. But I think that's exactly what happened. I have no problem with robust, muscular jabs, attacks on each other for whatever reason. But what I object to strenuously is an attempt to divide the people, particularly along communal lines.
Let me stop you then, bring it very quickly, Mr. Trivedi.
Mr. Trivedi, has not done India any good.
It's not done India any good. Did you hear that sentence, Mr. Trivedi, that the rhetoric, the insinuation of communal appeal and caste appeal has A, not done India any good, but more importantly, from your standpoint, it's also changed the manner in which the country was first looking at Mr. Modi. They saw him as a sort of icon who would deliver good governance, that was his promise, who would concentrate on development, that was his promise. But by his own rhetoric, he's ended up, for some, a divisive figure, but for others, a man who's let himself down. Is that one of the problems, that for many admirers of Mr. Modi, he's actually diminished himself by his rhetoric and his change of stance?
Actually, this was the basic agenda. There is an established principle in market. When there is a competition, the quality of the product increases. But here is the case other way around. There was a fierce competition among so many parties for minority votes. So out of their competition, they are gradually lowering down the language on the communal line. I am having a strong objection if you are taking Aam Aadmi Party as a, you can say, different party than others. How you can say when they were moving along with
you're beautifully circumventing the point I made.
Using the word
Mr. Trivedi, you're a perfect politician. You're answering a question that was never asked of you. I simply asked, has Mr. Modi diminished himself by deviating in the eyes of his supporters from good governance and development to communal and casteist issues?
So many communal overtones, and even if we respond to that, definitely we have to respond.
All right.
So obviously some atmosphere is created. We accept that we were totally focusing on development, price rise and corruption, but because of the fierce competition and the continuous attack on us, it was slightly diverted, much against to the wishes of BJP.
All right, let me bring in Randeep Surjewala. Randeep Surjewala, let me put this to you. Because of the tu-tu meme, because of the religious and casteist appeals that dominated the campaign during the last 2 weeks, Rahul Gandhi's essential message got not just dwarfed, it actually became impossible to hear. It got lost in the crowd. His sisters quarrel with Mr. Modi became dominant, but Rahul Gandhi simply disappeared. Is that a problem for you? That at a critical point, your mascot became invisible and inaudible?
Mr. Thapar, I wouldn't agree with that. Mr. Gandhi continued to stick, despite provocation, to his primary agenda of creation of 10 crore skilled opportunities for the young, for the various industrial corridors that would create jobs. However, one thing, if I may be permitted to say, we did not hear. Let me remind you, Mr. Modi started with the 2025
Don't worry about Mr. Modi. My question's about Rahul Gandhi.
They also didn't bring
Did
out
Rahul Gandhi become invisible and inaudible as a result of the tu-tu meme?
Absolutely not. I think he continued to answer the venomous comments that were heaped upon him, but he continued to profess and carry forward the agenda of providing shelter, providing health, providing skill development and providing jobs in a manner that may not have resonated very well with the common media, but it was there in all his speeches and public discourse.
All right, there's a very honest admission there, and I applaud you for it when you said in a way that may not have resonated very well with the media. That is at least indisputable. We're going to take a break at that point. Time also to say goodbye to our three politicians. When we come back, we'll have three new ones, but our three analysts will continue. And then we're going to turn and analyze specifically the nature of the campaign, the nature of the battle and the fight put up by Narendra Modi, Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal. See you in a moment's time.